My father would take me to the airport and watch the airplanes go out and come back in. Unconsciously, there was always a fascination with planes and aviation. I'm Jackie Kleiman. I'm Executive Vice President of Cockpit USA.
My name is Jeff Kleiman, President of the company.
To become a good pilot, you do need that detail-oriented personality, and I guess it translates into clothing. Keeping these planes alive really represents our history and the people that fought to protect our freedom. The clothing in itself also reminds us of the sacrifices that the people that wore the original ones made. So it's all intertwined.
Part of what we're offering are products that have a story, products that have a perceived value that's actually beyond what they are in the sense of their development.
When we first started thinking about product, Jeffrey wanted to recreate pieces that he knew intimately because his father and uncle wore them. He had begun researching who had made them, how they came about. It's an all-encompassing concept.
From my point of view, it was like an extinct art form that was replicating these kinds of things.
Garments that were made then and that we make still today have certain features that have a reason. It's not a fashion thing. There's reality in how they were made. Scott is our oldest son, and he is a fighter pilot flying F-16s in the reserves for the Air Force. He started flying with his father when he was about 4. He was very fortunate to be able to make his dream come true. What keeps us going is people really appreciating what the products are and what they represent. We'll get people saying, you know, I put on that jacket and I feel like I can conquer the world. And that's very satisfying.
When you get fired, you kind of have this realization, like, what do you want to do? What's the next chapter of my life? There are certain brands, American-based footwear and apparel brands, that were thriving in Europe. And it made me realize that we could actually bring a fabric to that, to allow a lot of these industries to use an American-made fabric for their American-made apparel and footwear lines. I'm an investment banker, so I know nothing about fashion. My wife and I sold everything we own, sold the house, sold everything, moved to America and bought a mill. Pretty ballsy. Pretty ballsy. There at one time was over 300 mills in America. And in terms of the wool industry, we're down to 4. At American Woolen, we're trying to be the green shoot for textile manufacturing to take root and to thrive. Right now in America, people keep wondering, can we get craftsmen to come into the field? And I think that's probably the biggest hurdle to the future growth in this industry, is to get craftsmen to look at this as a viable occupation. It's really about trying to rebrand manufacturing. And a lot of it goes back to the pride in the craft. It makes no use if I'm making the most wonderful fabric in Connecticut and you can't cut and sew a garment in the United States. And that's something that Southwick is really trying to do.
There's very few people left making tailored clothing in the United States. You know, whether it's Jacob and American Woolen or other partners that we have locally, we've always had an interest in buying fabric from the U.S. How do you make an artisanal business in this environment? So the key is taking that heritage and building on it. It's not a big investment, it's more about creativity and drive.
We got 65 people working here. These guys have a craft, they have a skill. The ability to bring that skill to an art form is something I guess I just never witnessed in banking. But I see it here. You can buy the machines, you can buy the building, I'll sell it to you. You can't buy the people.
It's an intrinsic value that they have. It's finding that we're a team. We succeed together, we fail together. I think that's the type of environment we try to build here.
I'm talking about bringing back the craft. And more importantly, really creating this made-in-America luxury apparel and footwear business. And we're really trying to facilitate a made-in-America product from A to Z. It's the Allen Edmonds shoes. It's the American Woolen fabric in your sport coat. We're all about the ability to bring it all back in America.
It's a lot of time invested in learning a centuries-old trade, the blending of an art form and science. You have to learn about stitching and gluing and preparing the edges and thickness of the leather for turning. People are going to have this bag by their sides for decades. We know it's in their hands every day of their lives. They grow to depend on it. It grows to change with the character of their body chemistry. It patinas. So it becomes a real extension of the individual, and we feel a great responsibility to live up to that expectation.
There are times where people just want whatever the best thing is. They're looking for that meld of staying loyal to the old way of doing it, understanding how it used to be done, why it used to be done that way, and if it still needs to be done that way, that's the way we're doing it.
I've been doing it about 42 years, and my father for 45 before me, and his father for 40 or so before him. There's something we all miss today. In the developmental years of our country, where we made everything, people would go to work and they'd touch and build things. You'd go home at night knowing you could physically see what you did with your hands. You could see that you produced something of value. And you'd go home with pride. Before my tenure's over, I have the pleasure of rebuilding U.S. manufacturing. And there are few things in my life that give me more pride than to have the opportunity to put it back together.
We didn't get where we are today because we did not evolve. We're stubborn and committed to our ways and where and how we do a lot of things. That doesn't mean we weren't innovative. At the end of the day, and I say this to my father all the time, I say, I leave here every day with more respect for you than I had yesterday. I get off the phone with customers, or I leave the production floor with him, and I'm just shocked that there was that one more thing that he still had to teach me.
It's so rare to find those that value this funny little old trade and honest product that is made in America for Americans with quality that is world class. I believe the people that are working with Kortchmar today leave the factory floor with a sense of pride. If I can create jobs for people and teach them a trade, that makes me pretty happy.
I've always tried to change things. I never just accepted things as they were. My name is Gene Montesano, and I'm the founder of Civilian Air Jeans. I might be like amongst the luckiest guys on the planet because this shouldn't have happened, and it did. I started in the clothing business probably in 1969, working in a store as a sales clerk. I always questioned why things were the way they were and why didn't they do it differently. You know, mostly I always heard it's impossible. Everything is impossible. So I never listened to anybody. I walked away and went in another direction. At the end of the age, 89, I started Lucky Brand. And no matter what was going on, we always broke for lunch and had a good time. I mean, that really came first. The success enabled us to do that, and I think that enabled us to have the success. And it was cool, you know, it was like very small, And the thing took off and it became pretty big. We sold that in 1999, but I chose to stay in it because, you know, I love it. So I started Civilianaire, and I have a little factory where I can create something and see it a week later, and it moves my needle. Now every day is exciting for me. Some days I'm 5 hours in the car, but then you get here and you make the perfect shirt or the perfect pair of jeans or the perfect logo t-shirt, and you go, wow, this is great. I don't want to ever give that up. If I didn't enjoy it, there'd be no way I'd do it. I don't want life to be a grind at all. I just have always played to myself. I make something that I want to wear. I eat the food that I want to eat. We were moving to Santa Barbara and there wasn't a place to have a steak, so I opened a steakhouse. It's the way I do it, you know, it's probably some kind of a flaw. I got a phone call from Allen Edmonds saying they'd like me to do this thing, and I was really flattered. The Artisans of Freedom Project is a great positive move to celebrate the American craftsman and to then give back to the future generations of craftsmen coming up. The American dream is alive and well. This is still like the Wild West. I mean, you can come out here and do it. When you say, where do ideas come from? They can come from anywhere. They come fast and furious, and sometimes they're at 3 in the morning, and sometimes they're on the way to work, but they keep coming, thank God.
You're surrounded by people all the time who tell you that it's a crazy idea, or that it can't be done, or that it shouldn't be done. And so there's a lot of really intelligent and wise people telling you not to do this. And it takes a lot of gall and a lot of idealism to carry on and say, not only do I believe we can do this, but I believe that there's a group of people out there that care enough to really make it work. And so we kind of went to plan B, which is try to find somebody in the United States that knows how to make frames. When we met Mark and Jason, we met them at a Vision Expo. They had a booth that said Made in USA.
And they said, so where are you guys making your frames? And we said, you know, here in the US. And they're like, yeah, but where? And we said, in our factory. And they're like, come on. Where are you really making these frames? And we said, in our factory.
We thought that what we would see when we went out to Ventura was like just guys taking sticks and circles and like taping them together and then marking Made in USA. But the quality that they were producing was really impressive, and so we knew that these were the guys that we needed to partner with.
Neither one of us are from the optical industry. I mean, we knew absolutely nothing about eyewear. It was like really a clean slate. We could really take this company in any direction that we wanted to take it. You know, we didn't have years of people telling us how something needed to be and this is how a frame should be made.
Just because something has been done a certain way forever doesn't mean that that's the right way. So we said, okay, if we're gonna do this, we have to do this a different way. We have to kind of reinvent this.
The industry had left America 20-some odd years ago, and there was no infrastructure here, or no skilled labor, no equipment.
We then had to set out on trips around the world to try to find that equipment. Literally had to get on a plane, travel to the deepest, darkest corners of the world, get in a cab, go down these alleys, knock on a steel door, and hope they made this thing that you're looking for.
When it came time to name this collection, the idea behind naming it after my dad was clearly an honor to him. We felt like my dad was the perfect embodiment of how we saw the American dream. He was a self-made man, an entrepreneur, built a company that now literally hundreds of families rely on. It had the courage to go out and do it his own way.
There's 72 individual steps. It can take up to 2 weeks to make a single frame. Because I appreciate those details and I appreciate the effort and workmanship that goes into any quality product, and especially something that's handmade. Because somebody's putting their passion, they're putting themselves into what they're making.
You just have to care about people more than anything else. Not only do we already have that culture that's trying to put people first, but now the frames themselves have their own soul. Our hope is that when somebody picks up a pair of Allen J frames, that in some weird way, they can feel that, and they put it on their face, that it was made in a special way by special people.
We care how our quality and the craftsmanship and the passion that goes into each and every one of those. We're okay making less money on each one of those to do it the right way, because that's how it should be done. We're part of a small but growing group of companies that think that same way, and we're really proud to be a part of that.
I like silence when I surf. Looking out to the horizon, it's like another world. Dolphins swim by, there's no rules. There's just you, the ocean, there's no traffic, there's no stop signs, there's no interference. It's nature aligning perfectly at just the right moment. That changes your mindset. I'm Cameron Weiss, and I am the founder and master watchmaker here at Weiss Watch Company. Watches are a very personal object, something that you build a really strong bond with. All of our watches are made start to finish by one person, and that's myself. To actually have a watchmaker assembling start to finish, and to be doing that here in the US, where we are also making the parts, there's no other watch like that. I think it was around 4 years old, my great aunt gave me a watch. What really fascinated me was there was a little machine that was on my wrist and I could take it everywhere. For my high school graduation present, my parents said you could pick out a watch or we could get you tools to work on watches. So I chose the tools. From there, the fascination grew. The only way you're going to learn new things in watchmaking is from an older watchmaker. I actually went to Switzerland and worked under one of their master watchmakers. It was unbelievable. I met my wife, Whitney, sophomore year, and we've been together ever since. It's definitely amazing to look back at it and see how far we've come, and to actually see our watches out in the world. We're making something that is a mix of art and micromechanics. It may be a piece of art, but it also has to keep time. Most of our parts, we're dealing with tolerances that are 1/5 of the diameter of a human hair. We've been working on a special Allen Edmonds collaboration timepiece. To have a company like Allen Edmonds actually giving back, we can teach this trade to more people, and maybe someday they'll go off and start their own business. There's something so American about it. There are clocks on all of our electronic devices, but the thing that a mechanical watch has is the craft. Everything that led up to the creation of it, all the care and effort and knowledge that went into the making of it. And I'm very proud of that. That I couldn't imagine my life without watchmaking.